Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on this 1 day time frame for Bitcoin. Since yesterday we ended up breaking down below this 111k, firing off another warning signal, and in the end we reached about 108k in the Bitcoin price, finding some short-term support here on this bull market support band on the daily time frame. Now, as far as I'm concerned, guys, this bull market support band is the critical level to hold. This is really the last line of defense here in the short term, because if we start breaking down below this bull market support band, typically we spend quite a bit of time below it before we potentially get another leg to the upside. So this is why if we are breaking down below here, guys, be careful, because this could genuinely be the top. I'm not saying it needs to be the top or anything, but similar to what we had last cycle where we had this bearish divergence, here as well, we have a bearish divergence with a high that is marginally higher than the previous high. Notice how right here we have a marginal high, a little bit higher than this previous high. So this, to me at least, looks like the same setup. But once again, this doesn't have to be the top, okay? I'm completely open to us just getting a massive bounce off of this bull market support band, for example. But like I said, if we are breaking down below here on the weekly time frame, I simply just need to look at the technical target of this rising wedge pattern, which is about 88k in the Bitcoin price. So until this actually gets invalidated by us getting some candle closes above these previous highs, I simply have to look at this price target and say, well, that is technically what we are targeting. Besides that, on this daily time frame, Bitcoin is simply in a downtrend at the moment. Once again, we are at the bull market support band, so potentially we could find some support in this area. There's also a big level of support below here from about 107 all the way down to 105k in the Bitcoin price. Overall, we are starting to see some support levels being reached, although technically we are still in a downtrend. So unless we are actually breaking this downtrend here, I would say, once again, be cautious and wait for actual confirmation before you start trying to long this potential move to the upside, because it may never come, right? So just be careful out there. Manage your risk properly if you are trading with leverage right now. Now, similar to what I said yesterday, like, is this an extremely bearish or an extremely bullish time for Bitcoin? No, I don't think so just yet. We still have about 30 hours before we can see this 2-day candle close to see if we are actually closing below 110k, or if we are just going to see another wick here and end up closing inside, opening the door to a possible bounce to the upside. So that will take another day and 7 hours before we can actually confirm that or not. So to quickly summarize all this TA, it is just simply starting to look pretty bearish for Bitcoin. The only bullish thing we could hope for here on this 2-day time frame is that we get a 2-day candle close above 110k in the Bitcoin price. And if that happens, we could look for a break of this descending trend line, the resistance of which is currently sitting at about 112k. Keep an eye out for that as far as a potentially bullish scenario, but the other timeframes are simply looking a little bit more bearish right now. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 2-week time frame here, once again, we took out a lot of liquidity at around 109k in the Bitcoin price. Right now, there's massive liquidity to the upside, and in the case that you don't know, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart. And considering that most of the liquidity is to the upside, it does leave the door open for Bitcoin to get another push higher here, although it doesn't have to be a new all-time high. Notice how all of this liquidity here is sitting up to about 119k. So even if we end up sweeping all of the liquidity, it could just look something like this. And from here, we will have to wait and see if we actually get some kind of rejection or a continuation further to the upside. Once again, I'm not saying this needs to happen, but I'm just showing you where this liquidity actually is in the chart. If I zoom out all the way to the 1-year time frame for Bitcoin, here we can still see that liquidity at around 107k in the Bitcoin price. So for now, with us being in that downtrend, technically we are still just trending towards that 107K level. This is the most important pocket of liquidity that we are targeting at the moment on this higher time frame, so long as we are trading below that descending trend line. Lastly, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin ETF flow tables. Yesterday, we actually did see a pretty good inflow of close to $200 million into the Bitcoin ETFs. So overall, this is having an upwards pressuring effect on the Bitcoin price, although obviously it doesn't look like that in the chart at the moment. But if these Bitcoin ETF inflows continue to come in every day, increasing in size as well, then pretty shortly after that, we should start to see some technical bullish confirmations, maybe some bullish divergences showing up, breaking the descending trend line, stuff like this. We can start to look for some price targets out of some kind of falling wedge pattern as well. So those are just some potential scenarios that we could be looking out for if we start seeing more and more of these Bitcoin ETF inflows every day. Either way, this has been today's market update. Don't forget to join the RT1M community on Discord. You can join this completely for free with the link at the top of the video description. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested. But regardless, if you do end up checking it out or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.